Um, these are, Steam. Okay, well, I got an error. What's up, YouTube? I'm back with another video. This one is just kind of one that I want to put out for my own opinions and thoughts on kind of the landscape of the mobile gaming right now. Because I picked up a Steam Deck online on OfferUp.com. I found someone who was selling it for a good price, 64 gigabytes LCD, so it's not exactly the newest spec and whatnot, but with a little bit of a change, you can just kind of want to update that to a 1 terabyte pretty easily and quickly. I just watched one video online and followed the instructions, and it didn't take me anything longer than 20 minutes tops. So, I mean, it's really easy to do. This was fairly inexpensive online that I got it for. eBay, they kind of had it for like $350. OfferUp, I found it for about $220. So I think I definitely got a good deal on this. And after using this for a little while, I have thoughts. That I'm just kind of seeing the landscape be so wildly all over the place that I don't understand how any of this is really working out the way that it is. Because the Steam Deck, although it's great and it has its ups and downs, software on here is hit or miss. It may or may not run on here. It may not or may not run for various reasons and whatnot. So, like, even though you have the Steam Store accessible to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that every game you're going to come across is going to run on your Steam Deck. And that's something that I'm definitely noticing pretty early on here. And I don't know. It's very interesting to kind of have a machine that you don't know if things are going to work. And I don't know. It's really unique the way that some games do and some games don't. Thank God there's websites that will help you kind of figure out whether or not a game will run on here. Sometimes they will, and they're usually indicated with like a little indicator there, like a green check mark will be an indicator saying, hey, you can, whereas a little indicator with the X, an eye that's yellow will say, hey, you can, but there are some issues that you may run into. So it's not necessarily saying you can't. And then there is the straight up, nope, this one won't run on this machine, even though there are some things that I've seen where you can make it run on here. But the fact that it doesn't just kind of run on here makes it makes it more of a tinkering toy than I was expecting. I fully expected from everything I've seen, every review, that I was going to just pick this thing up and it would just be super duper easy to kind of play games that I have on Steam. Even once, this Batman one, in my opinion, should be a no-brainer. Should be super easy to play because I could play it pretty easily on my Asus ROG Ally X, which didn't have an issue. I did have to do a small thing where you have to play the Batman game, at least, you had to install the DirectX exe that's in like the file, which was step too far in my opinion. Just like the Steam Deck, it should just work, but it doesn't. But I kind of expect that from this. This is a Windows machine. I expect there to be some level of compromise because of the fact that it is a Windows machine. Whereas this is kind of its own thing. Yeah, it's Linux-based. Yeah, it's still a desktop in the end, kind of. But it was kind of pitched as it will play your Steam library situation, but it's not quite that cut and dry. And I was kind of surprised by that. I was surprised by some of the limitations that I came across and the amount of games that I was unable to kind of play on here for one reason or another. And I'm not going to try and figure it out right now. I just kind of picked this up not too long ago. I'm just giving you kind of like my first thoughts on this. Whereas, obviously they're going to have some trade-offs, but then you have something like the Nintendo Switch, which, what's nice about this, even though it's not as powerful as this, it's not as ergonomically friendly to hold as this, but everything that runs on here. There is no won't it run on the Nintendo Switch, because it's the Nintendo Switch. It's going to run because they made it to where it's going to run for this. You can't just put any game on here. It has to be a Nintendo approved game. So whatever you're going to play on here is just going to work. And that's something that I think is really powerful for, just normal everyday consumers who are looking to buy a video game system that's portable. even though this is obviously the weakest of them, and soon to be replaced with the Switch 2, which arguably will still probably be the weakest overall. This is, you can guarantee that whatever game you buy on here, whatever you decide to get, will work with the Nintendo Switch. Whereas I'm finding with the Steam Deck, which is basically a middle ground between the Nintendo Switch and the ROG Ally, because this is kind of built to be a little bit more friendly toward your everyday consumer, to say, hey, you can play these games. I mean, these little green check marks are really, really nice to kind of give you an indication that, hey, it is fully worked. And even the store will tell you, hey, these are, Steam. Okay, well, I got an error, but it will tell you that it is, playable on the Steam Deck. There's like a section for that, which I find to be super duper helpful. But at the same time, for the games that don't play on here, then I have to break out the ROG Ally X, which does have a little bit more compatibility and a little bit more ease of use, in my opinion, because it is like just using a laptop or a desktop, which is something that I already do with Windows. So playing games on here is very familiar to me versus on here, which is not as familiar. So if there are issues that I run into, I don't necessarily have the answers immediately. But I mean, look, it's Linux based. You're gonna get a bunch of people out there talking about how to fix these things. But I guess this whole video is really just my first impressions, are kind of like more about just the landscape of the gaming situation right now, where I think that at the ease of use end, this one is the easiest to use. Anything that you buy for this, any game in the store, any game that you put into the slot here that is made for the Nintendo Switch, it'll run. And it'll run, for the most part, fantastically. I'm not going to say every game's great. There are going to be, developer, issues where they're not going to update the game in a timely manner. Looking at you, Fall Guys, Fortnite, have had issues in the past. I know that they've recently had some, updates to Fall Guys, especially, that really fixed a lot of the issues. But this is definitely the easiest out of the bunch to use. And in my opinion, if you're looking for something portable to play that is easy and not going to be have a learning curve, this is definitely the best way to go, in my opinion. Whereas something like this, even though I will admit the first time I held it like this and used this joystick, it was weird. I didn't like it. But it's kind of growing on me. I still prefer the Ally X, but it's not as awful as it was the first time I used it. I don't really like it for shooter games and whatnot. But anyway, that's not the point. My point is, this is like a nice middle ground. So I'm just talking about ease of use here. This is the easiest. This is kind of like in the center, and then this would be not necessarily the hardest to use, but definitely the most tedious to use, as far as it doesn't have like a built-in store or anything, kind of like the Steam Deck here does. But when it comes to all-around versatility, I definitely prefer the ROG Ally, just because it definitely has more options to it, because it's a full-fledged Windows. So you're not as limited as you are with the other two options on the things that you can do. But I will say that the quick sleep on this to keep playing games, just kind of shuts it down for a second so you can, turn it back on and keep playing, is phenomenal. I loved it. I was playing Goodbye Volcano High, and it just was so easy to just push the power button and walk away and not worry about the battery draining like crazy and whatnot. I actually did that with the Nintendo Switch today, where I literally put it on sleep in Mario Odyssey, walked away for a little bit, and came back, had 18% after like 3 hours, 4 hours of sitting. And I don't know if it's just because it didn't actually like tombstone the app in the background, but that was a little concerning to me. So I don't know if that's just an every Nintendo Switch thing or what, but that was weird. And obviously, if you own a Ally, then you probably know the sleep on Windows is basically junk, garbage, awful, the worst, straight not worth it. So I know some people will hibernate instead. They'll put it on hibernate mode when they push the power button, which is about the equivalent to the sleep on here, but it's not as elegant in my opinion. So it's pretty cool. But I just kind of I don't know. I don't see a lot of people talking about that, where ease of use and whatnot. I mean, we all are just so kind of blown away by the amazingness of these gadgets and how awesome they are and how powerful they are. But realistically, there is a learning curve. This is not nearly as easy as I think a lot of people would like to believe. It does have a learning curve to it, and there are games that may or may not work, and you will have to figure out, if you do want to play them, how to make them work. And I think that that's very important to make sure people know, because it's not the Nintendo Switch. Okay, you're not going to just pick it up out of the box, turn it on, and all the programs are just going to work, and it's going to be beautiful and wonderful, and the flowers are going to bloom. It's not going to be like that. Sorry, it's just not how it works. But this behemoth, this gigantic thing, is the least elegant, but man, do I love this thing. I freaking loved it. This is the preferred for me to use when I'm doing shooting games or anything multiplayer. I think that this is a lot better, especially because of the anti-cheat software and whatnot. Like, this is a lot more flexible. I can pick this up, play a few rounds of Fall Guys, put it back down. But of course, I usually close the apps. I don't ever really tombstone anything. I just kind of close it. For single player games that are on your Steam library, I think the Steam Deck's the best. I think that this is just that sleep ability where you can turn it on and off on the fly like that, and having these two trackpads for certain games. Definitely amazing for that. So I am definitely a fan of single player games on here. Multiplayer on the Ally X, and then of course Nintendo only games. Here I am trying to get back into using the Switch more, because I'm finding that I don't want to necessarily be tied down to a TV in a room or a computer anymore. I want to be able to play freely on the go, doing things, living my life, while also still having the ability to kind of play maybe on a park bench or something like that. Anyway, this video was kind of on the fly. I just want to talk about it. I think that it's very interesting to see the landscape of the gaming marketplace right now. And we're talking from the low end, where this is still $350 for some reason. For the OLED model, this is still $399 for the LCD 256 brand new, and $549 starting for the OLED. I believe they're on $549. And then, of course, the $799 behemoth for this one, which I still recommend if you can find this open box or used. That's not a bad way to go for this. But the Steam Deck it definitely has a place in all of this. Obviously, it's kind of like the original when it comes to PC gaming. But I mean, obviously, this right here, the Wii U, and then this coming out afterwards. This is what really set it in motion. This is the one that really showed the world that people want to play on the go. This one gave it a face for Steam to really give it a platform for people to play. Not perfect, definitely better than nothing. Definitely easier to use than this overall, but this to me is definitely like the height of it, because it is also just so freaking useful as Windows when you plug it into a separate monitor and just kind of using it as a computer in all of its power. This thing's fantastic. I love this thing. I love them all, but I do think that we need to like set expectations for people. And in this video, I kind of hope that I did that a little bit by just saying, hey, it's not all sunshine and roses on any of them. They all have their pros and cons, but this is just kind of where I think the landscape of gaming is right now. I don't think there is generally a winner overall. I think that they're all fantastic at what they do. I think one player, this is the king. Nintendo only games. Also, this is like way more portable. Like, this thing next to this thing is just, I mean, we're not even in the same freaking world anymore when it comes to portability. This is the king for that. But just my 2 thoughts. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.